All right. So I'm finally back with another annoying article. And probably annoying is pretty tame for how I'm feeling about this. And this is something I have mentioned in my other videos about anti-Semitism, and it screams on this one. But let's just get right to the article. Israeli director says he is getting death threats after German officials criticized Berlin Film Festival acceptance speeches as anti-Semitic. And I can just imagine what was said. And then when I got into the article, yeah, unfortunately, my suspicions were confirmed. This is going to be another one of those. Oh, you're criticizing your own government, the Israeli government. Well, you must be anti-Semitic. Now, I understand that you can be prejudiced against your own group. So I'm not going to say, oh, he's Israeli, he couldn't possibly be anti-Semitic. I'm not going to say that. Plus, not all Israelis are Jews. But, your first thought is, what? What did he say that was so horrible? And then you realize, no, he was criticizing his own government. And somehow that's anti-Semitic. Anyway, to the article. Israeli filmmaker Yuval Abraham, and I hope I said his first name correctly, who last week picked up the Best Documentary Award at the Berlin Film Festival, has said he has received death threats and had to cancel his flight home after German officials and Israeli media described his acceptance speech as anti-Semitic. Because, Germans not questioning a government stance has always worked out well for them. And same thing with the Israeli media. They should know better. I mean, I could understand if Netanyahu and his bunch of wackaloons said it, but the last I checked, Israeli media is still free. They do not have to toe any party line. So why are you buying into this idea that anti-Israeli government, criticism of the Israeli government is the same as anti-Semitism? Which is dangerous. I mean, people, granted, they didn't need an excuse to be anti-Semitic dickweeds, but people around the world, they attack Jews because they somehow think that they have some pull with Israeli policy. And why do they think that? Because dickweeds like you are telling the right wing and telling these bigots that criticism of the government is the same as criticism of Jews, which is totally not the same thing. But anyway, let's continue. In a post on X, Abraham, who is part of a collective of 4 Israeli and Palestinian filmmakers that took home the prize for Best Documentary for No Other Land, said his family has also faced physical threats since Saturday's awards ceremony. And I'm just like, okay, what did he say that was so horrible? Wait for it. A right-wing Israeli mob came to my family's home yesterday to search for me, threatening close family members who fled to another town in the middle of the night. I'm still getting death threats and had to cancel my flight home, Abraham wrote on X. Come on. I mean, seriously, what the hell did he say that was so bad, right? This happened after Israeli media and German politicians absurdly labored my Berlinale award speech, where I called for equality between Israelis and Palestinians, a ceasefire, and an end to apartheid, as anti-Semitic. The appalling misuse of this word by Germans, not only to silence Palestinian critics of Israel, but also to silence Israelis like me who support a ceasefire, will end the killing in Gaza and allow the release of Israeli hostages. It empties the word anti-Semitism of meaning and thus endangers Jews all over the world. Exactly. Criticizing the Israeli government for being a bunch of right-wing douchewaffles is not the same thing as being anti-Semitic. Because it's okay for you not to agree with your government. I don't expect everyone to fall in line and trust and believe and agree with everything Biden's done. I sure as hell don't. I don't expect people to, from the outside, to assume that when Trump was president, that meant the majority of Americans, if not all Americans, agreed with that doofus. But, and most people do understand that there is a difference between the government and the people. And even though you might question, especially in a country like Israel, where, you have popular vote, it's not like in the U.S. where we have that bizarre electoral college system where you could literally not win the popular vote but still win the presidency, because that makes total sense. I can see why you would think that Israelis would have voted for Bibi, but no, that still doesn't mean that they all agree. That doesn't mean that if you're Israeli, you're going to just fall in line and agree with everything Bibi has done. Especially since Bibi is being criticized for not for dropping the ball and letting Hamas even let October 7th happen. And he was being criticized before this, but the criticism hasn't stopped. That is normal. That is perfectly fine. That doesn't make you anti-Israeli, doesn't make you anti-Semitic. It does not make you, when it happens in this country, it doesn't make you anti-American. That is not how protest works. You are allowed, unless you are under an authoritarian regime, you are allowed to criticize your government. Because if you let the government run unchecked, bad things happen. We know this. We have recent examples. Forget having to go back to the past. We have recent examples. So why is this so hard for people to understand? Especially the two countries and the two groups that you would think would be understanding of this, claiming that his speech is anti-Semitic. What the hell? And like I said in the beginning, and like he said, this is putting Jews around the world at risk, because those who truly are anti-Semitic will see a random Jew and blame them for what's happening in the Israel-Gaza war, when they might be like, this Israeli director, they might be anti-war. They might want Israelis and Palestinians to get along and not be fighting each other. But that won't matter because, Israel and Jews are synonymous now. And it's never been that way. And it shouldn't be that way, because that's just dumb. That is literally giving carte blanche not to just anti-Semitism, but let's say I moved abroad and people had a problem with what my government was doing in any foreign policy. Because let's face it, we have a track record of, shitting the bed when it comes to foreign policy. So, in certain cases, of course. And not all cases, but still. I wouldn't want to be attacked for being an American simply because my government is being dickweeds. No, I wouldn't want that. So why should we put ourselves in a position that any Jew is fair game because Jew equals Israeli policy, even though they literally have nothing to do with what Bibi does? They might have never stepped foot in Israel. So, the hell. Anyway, continuing on. Abraham's acceptance speech criticized a situation of apartheid in Israel and called for a ceasefire in Gaza. He was standing alongside his Palestinian co-director, Basil Adra. The speech was one of the several moments during the closing ceremony where filmmakers expressed solidarity with Palestine. The ceremony has since sparked a barrage of criticisms in German media from officials and politicians. Now, this edition of the film festival was criticized from the very beginning because they initially invited the right-wing party of the German right-wing party to politicians to the opening ceremony, and of course that got backlash. And now they're overcorrecting. Oh, you don't like the hateful group that we were going to invite? Well, we're going to do their job for them and criticize this Israeli for daring to get along with a Palestinian? What the hell? I mean, just like you cannot conflate Israeli citizens with their government, or any citizen with their government. Same thing with Palestinians and Hamas. Not all Palestinians agree with Hamas. They might agree with some parts of what they're doing, and considering Israel is bombing their country to hell, they might be more and more sympathetic to Hamas. Because, bombing an idea always works well. And so you just can't assume that and actually, the last poll I saw is that the Palestinians in Gaza are not that big of fans of Hamas. Again, I'm sure after bombing the country to hell, more people have started to side with Hamas because, well, Israel is bombing their homes to hell, so it's understandable that. So the irony is that Israel's bombing this country to hell because they are claiming, again, because apparently this is what happened in the 80s in Beirut, claiming that there's these tunnels and that's why they have to bomb the entire country to hell. No. Now, it's possible that there are these tunnels. I'm not saying that they're completely wrong, but with our technology, because let's face it, the U.S. is supplying Israel with all this equipment, they should be able to precisely target Hamas without just leveling the entire country. So, again, no, Palestine is not the same as Hamas, so I do not understand why there is criticism from German media, officials and politicians, unless, they don't know their own history. I just do not understand how people can say, oh yeah, we know exactly, in World War II, we didn't question our government at all, and look what happened. And now they're doing the same thing in Israel? Because they, I don't know, want to fall over themselves showing how supportive they are and how not anti-Semitic they are? Well, first off, like some troll on my channel pointed out, Muslims are Semitic peoples too. Arabs are Semitic peoples. So, one, anti-Semitic has become synonymous with anti-Jew. That's been established. That's why I'm calling this guy a troll. We know that, or at least I am aware that Arabs are Semitic peoples. However, there's a different word for that. But the Germans, of all people, because they are taught about their history and about what happened with the Holocaust. That's why Holocaust denialism is illegal in Germany. Now, whether that should or shouldn't be is a topic for another video, but the fact is that's how it is. They really want to prevent history from repeating itself. So they're falling over themselves to show how not anti-Semitic they are by making it seem like nothing Israel does is bad. Again, Israel and Jews are not the same thing. Yes, Israel was established as a Jewish state, but they claim to be a democratic state. So you can criticize them all you want. This is not a country that's strictly Jewish. Of course, Bibi would love it to be, but there are Arabs in there, there are Muslims, there are Christians. It's not just Jews who live there. So let's not treat it like it's one and the same. That's number one. And again, Jews around the world have absolutely nothing to do with this policy. I'm sure many of them, if not most of them, are not anti-Palestine. They would love for there to be a two-state solution and everyone to just get along and live in peace. However, this shit lets people who are already bigoted, already anti-Semitic, think, oh, well, if I come after you, that's going to help the war in Israel and Gaza. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay. Kai Wegner, the governing mayor of Berlin, shared a series of messages on his X where it said the Berlinale closing ceremony was an intolerable oh my lord, what is that word? Relativization. Is that even a word? Oh my god. Wegner didn't specify what aspect of the ceremony he took issue with, but added anti-Semitism has no place in Berlin, and that also applies to the art scene. I expect the new management of the Berlinale to ensure that such incidents do not happen again. Okay, you do realize what you are saying here. You are saying that Israel, because we are not anti-Semitic, that means we must be anti-Arab. That is literally what you just said. That, you're bending over backwards not to be anti-Semitic, but claiming that what's happening is happening. People with eyes and probably families over there. That doesn't mean that they hate Israel. They just want Israel to stop being a dick towards Palestine. I mean, I get it. They want to be able to live safely, but how is this helping? All you are doing is making more people want to join Hamas, want to join Hezbollah. All you are doing, and you're turning all these Arab states who previously had signed peace agreements with you, you're making them rethink this, dude. I mean, granted, even though a lot of Arabs claim that they are pro-Palestine, they're really not doing much to show it. Actually, I've heard plenty of people say they actually don't give a shit about the Palestinians. So, so what? I guess Bibi knows that, and so he knows he's got carte blanche. I just do not understand where people think that if you see a demonstration showing your support for Palestine, that somehow means the destruction of Israel. I mean, granted, there are people who say that. Hamas themselves have always wanted the destruction of Israel, which, I mean, they did, kick out of large portions of Palestinians just to create the state of Israel. So, not completely random thought, but at the same time, not helpful. So you have one side that wants a complete destruction of Palestine. I mean, Bibi has said he does not want establishment of a Palestinian state, and the other side wants to destroy Israel. So they mutually want to destroy each other. So I can see how you would say neither side has a great outlook, but that still doesn't mean that wanting a two-state solution, wanting a ceasefire, is somehow anti-Semitic. It just simply means that people actually have empathy, and it's not just for a single group of people. It's not just empathy for Jews, it's empathy for the Palestinians who are going through hell right now. And this is not doing anything to bring the hostages home. The families of the hostages are pissed off at the government for what they're doing because they could be inadvertently killing their family. And actually, information has come out that they've done just that. Because Bibi is not interested that much in bringing... I mean, this is controversial, but I don't think he really cares about bringing the hostages home. He's more interested in destroying Gaza, and he's using this as an opportunity to do that. Anyway, German culture minister Claudia Roth, who was seen applauding Abraham and Adra's speech, later said in a statement on social media that she had clapped at the Israeli but not the Palestinian half of the duo. Oh, wow. Are you kidding me? That doesn't show racism at all. My God. Her applause was for the Jewish-Israeli journalist and filmmaker Yuval Abraham, who spoke out in favor of a political solution and peaceful coexistence in the region. The statement read. Roth's statement also said reports of death threats against Abraham were alarming. Okay. I just love the hypocrisy here. Oh, I'm applauding his ask for a political solution and peaceful coexistence in the region, but I'm only applauding the Jew. I'm sorry, what? How can you say you want peaceful coexistence, but you're going to shit on the Arab? I mean, I don't even know how you can pretzel your brain to the point where that even remotely makes sense. Either you're for peaceful coexistence or you hate Arabs. You can't have both. You can't do it both ways. Wow. The lack of self-awareness is amazing. Oh my God. I hope she gets her ass kicked out of office at the next election. My God. What the hell? The only thing she said in there that I agree with is her claim about peaceful coexistence. I agree with that. And a political solution. Okay, I agree with that. And that the death threats against Abraham are alarming. But how do you pretzel yourself to say, I want peaceful coexistence between Muslims and Jews, but I'm going to shit on the Muslims? I just don't get that one. No Other Land, which played in the Panorama Documente competition, chronicles the evictions and demolitions of Palestinian homes in the occupied West Bank by Israeli authorities. That makes what the Germans, especially Claudia Roth, who I can only assume watched the film, makes her hypocrisy even worse. I mean, how can you say that? How can you watch this and say, I was only applauding the Jew? How can you watch this? Watch Palestinian homes in the West Bank being destroyed by Israelis and decide to take sides? I mean, that is the antithesis of what this film was meant for. That's why we had an Israeli and a Palestinian. I just don't get this. I mean, my God, I just don't understand how much mental gymnastics you have to do to come to that conclusion. Concluding his message, Abraham, who said his grandfather's family was murdered by Germans in the Holocaust, same, added that he is glad that the doc is sparking an important international debate, and he hopes millions of people watch it when it comes out this year. Unfortunately, if Claudia Roth is any indication, they're going to take the wrong message. Because, my God, how can you watch a movie about how the Israelis are screwing over the Palestinians and then say, I'm applauding the Jew? What? That is just beyond dumb. And, by the way, when I said same, I meant it. I meant it. A lot of my, actually it wasn't technically my grandfather too, but my father's family was murdered in the Holocaust. So, yeah, same. You can have harsh criticism of what me and Basil said on stage without demonizing us. If this is what you're doing with your guilt for the Holocaust, I don't want your guilt, he wrote. Good. I mean, this is exactly what what a lot of Germans are doing. They're course correcting. Oh, we did horrible things to Jews in the Holocaust, so we're just going to mindlessly agree with everything Israel does. And if you're an Israeli who lives in Israel and criticizes your government, well, then you're not a very good Jew. Seriously, what? I mean, it's great that you feel bad. Not necessarily guilty, because you didn't, unless you're the ones who participated. I get that you feel guilty about, you feel bad about what happened to the Jewish people during the Holocaust. That's great. You should feel bad about what happened to them. And let's not forget all the other people who were killed in the Holocaust as well. It wasn't just Jews. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that Jews can do no wrong. And it sure as hell doesn't mean Israel can do no wrong. They're people just like anyone else. Wagner and the cultural minister have said they will review the incidents from the closing ceremony and hold talks with the festival's incoming director, Trisha Tuttle, to ensure they do not happen in the future. Like I said, if this is how they're going to be, at this point, I wish that they had allowed that far right-wing party to attend as those invitations were allowed to be made. They should have just instead of rescinded, let them go, because then you'll see what real hate is. Because demonstrating against Israel bombing a country to smithereens, regardless of whether they had anything to do with the attacks or not a good look, and it doesn't help your cause by saying, same as with the U.S., this idea that we're fully in support of Israel and we're just not going to criticize them ever. I mean, it's possible that they, are also dealing with BB behind the scenes, but the optics aren't great. All right. After the awards ceremony, the Berlin Film Festival put out a press release in which it distanced itself from the comments made by multiple filmmakers in support of Palestine. My God, you people are stupid. Don't let yourself get bullied. I mean, the hell. We understand the outrage that the statements made by some of the award winners were perceived as too one-sided and in some cases inappropriate, the festival said. One-sided? That Israeli director did not one-side shit. I mean, his entire film was to show how both sides are treating each other. I do not understand what's this one-sided thing. When, especially considering your idea of one side is, oh, the poor Israelis are being attacked unfairly for, bombing a country to hell. That is what I'm hearing. I am not hearing anything about, oh, I only applauded the Israeli. I only applauded the Jew. That tells me you're one-sided. That does not tell me that you are thinking about both sides. You just have a problem with the fact that the one side that was brought up was Palestine. Because just accept that you want Palestine to be wiped off the map. You just do not want to admit it out loud because you know deep down that that's not a good take to have either. But somehow if you hide yourself behind, I'm against anti-Semitism, that somehow it makes your anti-Arab stance so much easier to tolerate. Alright. From our point of view, it would have been appropriate in terms of content if the award winners and guests at the award ceremonies had also made more differentiated statements on this issue. They did, you jackass. Nobody is saying, oh, Israel is attacking, bombing Palestine to hell for no reason. It's not like October 7th happened. Nobody is denying October 7th happened. What do you mean differentiated statements on this issue? Are you upset that even Jews understand that their government is cray-cray? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. Those comments, it is highly unusual for a festival to take issue with its own award winners, have in turn attracted complaint from multiple filmmakers and journalists who have described the response as a form of censorship. Exactly. The irony of Germans claiming, oh, we understand the bad things that happened in our past, so now you're overcorrecting and doing the same damn thing, only against a different group of people. Now, granted, it's not the Holocaust. I won't go that far. But censorship? Guess how the Holocaust started? I mean, it started with hate. It started with censorship. I'm sorry, but the hell? Like I said, if these were pro-Israeli statements without mentioning at all the terrible things that are happening in Gaza. I bet you that they would not have said anything. There would have been no controversy because it's them showing how they're so supportive of the poor little Jews in Israel. Now, granted, October 7th was horrible and Hamas should have been punished for that. Fine. Most of Gaza is not Hamas, just like most of Israel is not Bibi. So, and what is Israel doing in turn? They just started more. They're making more settlements in the West Bank, illegal settlements. I mean, pointing that out and pointing out what horrible things the Israeli government is doing is not anti-Semitic. It's just pointing out that the government sucks. It doesn't say anything about Jews, doesn't say anything about Muslims. It just points out what people can see with their own eyes. That the Israeli government is trying to turn everybody against them. Because I guess they have a victim complex and it's like, oh, we're too powerful. We want to be hated because then we can have a pity party and whine that, that people are around the world are anti-Semitic or something. Because I just do not understand why these right-wing governments are literally against their own people. That, to me, makes zero sense. I mean, with Hamas, I can't really say that because are they actually Palestinians? I hear that they're from other areas of the Arab world, that they're not actually even Palestinian. So, I can't say anything about that, but right-wing governments in general seem to be against their own people. And I just do not understand why. I mean, why do you hate your own people? If you hate your own people that much, leave the country? I don't know. I just don't see what you're accomplishing. But anyway, that is the end of this article. And I think I covered it to death. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.